Christmas in the Acme Ballroom by Mabel Brown Stewart. Letter 8, Find Your Light. December 12th. Dear Miss Hatch, we had our first rehearsal of the Tempest after school. When we get to the auditorium after the last bell has rung, we discover that Mrs. D has arranged a big circle of chairs on stage. Henry is already there when I arrive. He hands me my script. I can't tell you the power of having that script in my hands. It feels alive. It's like an invitation to a magical world. Then Darla arrives. I jump up to meet her. I'd shared with Henry that Darla was going to join the cast, and he also rises to greet her. You must be the famous Darla, he says. Darla looks exceedingly pleased. Guilty, she says. Cool shirt. She points at Henry, who has a picture of Cthulhu on his front. I sit between Henry and Darla. Soon the whole circle has been filled except for 3 seats. Janice, Lana, and Molly are late. Mrs. D begins the meeting. I'm so excited and nervous. It's super hard to pay attention to what she's saying, but I do hear her say that the play is about the power of forgiveness, and we all have to work together. While Mrs. D is passing out a paper copy of the schedule, Janice, Lana, and Molly march in. Well, well, the goddesses have arrived, smirks Henry. Oh, that reminds me, Mrs. D says. Punctuality is vital. I've never met a successful theater artist who didn't understand that. Take a seat, girls. Before the read-through begins, Mrs. D asks for a moment of silence so everyone can focus. Imagine a world of magic, she says in a soothing voice. Breathe. The theater is so quiet. I am counting my breaths like you taught me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I breathe in and then release the air. All I can hear are the breathing sounds around me and the hum of the work lights above me. All right, let's begin, Mrs. D declares, and we read. The opening is the storm scene. Darla does a great job with her line, all lost, to prayers, all lost. She has just the right amount of fear in her voice. I can picture the ship breaking apart. A junior named Freddie has the final line in the scene. He's playing the old guy, Gonzalo, and he says, I would fain die a dry death. I wasn't sure what fain meant when I read it, but now it's clear that he's saying he doesn't want to drown. Perfectly reasonable, right? The line just gives the scene such a strong ending. I can't help but applaud. Some other kids join in too. Mrs. D smiles at me and says, powerful stuff. My heart starts thumping when we begin the next scene because I'm in it. First, Prospero and Miranda have a whole conversation that basically explains how they got to this lonely, strange island, and then it's my turn. All hail, great master, I say. My voice is a little shaky, but then I find my confidence. As I'm reading my lines, my mind goes blank and I'm not thinking anymore. I don't know how to explain it. I'm just feeling the words as they tumble out of my mouth. Henry, who's sitting right beside me, seems almost electric as he speaks Prospero's lines. It's like he really is a wizard. Prospero is kind of the dad in the play. I mean, his real daughter is Miranda, of course, but he's also, in a way, the dad to Ariel. He's older than her, and he's in charge of her, and has affection for her most of the time. But he's not always that nice to her. I'm just being honest. I guess now I need to bring up my dad again. I've never met him. He lives in France, and he wasn't ever married to my mom. I have a lot of questions, but my mom doesn't seem to want to talk about it much. I'm worried that my dad wasn't a very nice guy. I just feel like I should have met him by now. I also feel like if I ask about him, Mom will take it the wrong way. It kind of feels like this big trap. There's no way out. So we finish reading Act 1, and I feel like this is going to be an amazing show. Mrs. D has a stand and stretch. Darla says, did you notice the lights? I guess I saw them flickering, I reply. Yeah, they flickered. But only when you were talking, she whispers. Just me? I ask. Yep, just you. Henry has been standing close by. I saw that too, Mo. What's up with you and electricity? First lightning, now fluorescence? I don't know, I say. Is this possible? Could I be causing it? Mrs. D calls us back to the circle. For the rest of the play, I become aware of the lights. Henry and Darla are right. The flickering only happens when I speak. It's so weird. As everyone is leaving, Mrs. D calls me aside. Mo, you read well. Your first scene was particularly strong. Thanks, Mrs. D. I did get a bit distracted by the lights. Oh, don't worry about the lights. I think Jeff might be the cause of that. Have a good night, she says and steps away. Jeff is causing the flickering lights? And only when I'm speaking? Oh, the questions are really piling up. I put up more posters for Sean, but no one is called. Kindest regards, Mo.